Daisy's toys. Justin came over about half an hour later. He gave me a big hug and said, "Sorry, Augie." We all sat down in the living room, not saying anything. For some reason, Via and I had taken all of Daisy's toys from around the house and had put them in a little pile on the coffee table. And now we just stared at the pile. "She really is the greatest dog in the world," said Via. "I know," said Justin, rubbing Via's back. "She started whimpering like all of a sudden," I said. Via nodded. "Like 2 seconds after you left the table," she said. "Mom was going to go after you, but Daisy just started, whimpering." "Like how?" I said. "Just whimpering. I don't know," said Via. "Like howling?" I asked. "Augie, like whimpering," she answered impatiently. She just started moaning like something was really hurting her, and she was panting like crazy. And then she just kind of plopped down, and Mom went over there and tried to pick her up and whatever, but she was obviously hurting. She bit Mom." "What?" I said. "When Mom tried to touch her stomach, Daisy bit her hand," Via explained. "Daisy never bites anybody," I answered. "She wasn't herself," said Justin. "She was obviously in pain." "Dad was right," said Via. "We shouldn't have let her get this bad." "What do you mean?" I said. "He knew she was sick?" "Augie, Mom's taken her to the vet like 3 times in the last 2 months. She's been throwing up left and right. Haven't you noticed?" "But I didn't know she was sick." Via didn't say anything, but she put her arm around my shoulders and pulled me closer to her. I started to cry again. "I'm sorry, Augie," she said softly. "I'm really sorry about everything, okay? You forgive me? You know how much I love you, right?" I nodded. Somehow, the fight didn't matter much now. "Was Mom bleeding?" I asked. "It was just a nip," said Via. "Right there." She pointed to the bottom of her thumb to show me exactly where Daisy had bitten Mom. "Did it hurt her?" "Mommy's okay, Augie. She's fine." Mom and Dad came home 2 hours later, and we knew that the second they opened the door and Daisy wasn't with them, that Daisy was gone. We all sat down in the living room around the pile of Daisy's toys. Dad told us what happened at the animal hospital and how the vet took Daisy for some x-rays and blood tests, and then came back and told them that she had a huge mass in her stomach, and she was having trouble breathing. Mom and Dad didn't want her to suffer, so Daddy picked her up in his arms, like he always liked to do, with her legs straight up in the air, and he and Mom kissed her goodbye over and over again. And then, after about a minute, she died in Daddy's arms. It was so peaceful, Daddy said. She wasn't in any pain at all, like she was just going to sleep. A couple of times while he talked, Dad's voice got trembly and he cleared his throat. I've never seen Dad cry before, but I saw him cry tonight. I had gone into Mom and Dad's bedroom looking for Mom to put me to bed, but saw Dad sitting on the edge of his bed, taking off his socks. His back was to the door, so he didn't know that I was there. At first I thought he was laughing because his shoulders were shaking, but then he put his palms on his eyes, and I realized that he was crying. It was the quietest crying I've ever heard, like a whisper. I was going to go over to him, but then I thought maybe he was whisper crying because he didn't want me or anyone else to hear him. So I walked out and went to Via's room, and I saw Mom lying next to Via on the bed, and Mom was whispering to Via, who was crying. So I went to my bed and put on my pajamas without anyone telling me to, and put the nightlight on and turned the light off and crawled into the little mountain of stuffed animals I had left on my bed earlier. It felt like all of it had happened a million years ago. I took my hearing aids off and put them on the night table and pulled the covers up to my ears and imagined Daisy snuggling with me, her big wet tongue licking my face all over like it was her favorite face in the world. And that's how I fell asleep. Heaven. I woke up later on and it was still dark. I got out of bed and walked into Mom and Dad's bedroom. "Mommy?" I whispered. It was completely dark, so I couldn't see her open her eyes. "Mommy? You okay, honey?" she said groggily. "Can I sleep with you?" Mom scooted over toward Daddy's side of the bed, and I snuggled up next to her. She kissed my hair. "Is your hand okay?" I said. "Via told me Daisy bit you." "It was only a nip," she whispered in my ear. "Mommy," I started crying. "I'm sorry about what I said." "Shh, there's nothing to be sorry about," she said, so quietly I could barely hear her. She was rubbing the side of her face against my face. "Is Via ashamed of me?" I said. "No, honey, no. You know she's not. She's just adjusting to a new school. It's not easy." I know. "I'm sorry I called you a liar." Go to sleep, sweet boy. I love you so much. I love you so much too, Mom. Good night, honey, she said very softly. Mom, is Daisy with Grands now? I think so. Are they in heaven? Yes. Do people look the same when they go to heaven? I don't know. I don't think so. Then how do people recognize each other? I don't know, sweetie. She sounded tired. They just feel it. You don't need your eyes to love, right? You just feel it inside you. And that's how it is in heaven. It's just love, and no one forgets who they love. She kissed me again. Now go to sleep, honey. It's late, and I'm so tired. But I couldn't go to sleep, even after I knew she had fallen asleep. I could hear Daddy sleeping too, and I imagined I could hear Via sleeping down the hallway in her room. And I wondered if Daisy was sleeping in heaven right now. And if she was sleeping, was she dreaming about me? And I wondered how it would feel to be in heaven someday and not have my face matter anymore, just like it never ever mattered to Daisy. Understudy. Via brought home 3 tickets to her school play a few days after Daisy died, and we never mentioned the fight we had over dinner again. On the night of the play, right before she and Justin were leaving to get to their school early, she gave me a big hug and told me she loved me and she was proud to be my sister. This was my first time in Via's new school. It was much bigger than her old school and 1,000 times bigger than my school. More hallways, more room for people. The only really bad thing about my bionic Lobot hearing aids was the fact that I couldn't wear a baseball cap anymore. In situations like these, baseball caps come in really handy. Sometimes I wish I could still get away with wearing that old astronaut helmet I used to wear when I was little. Believe it or not, people would think seeing a kid in an astronaut helmet was a lot less weird than seeing my face. Anyway, I kept my head down as I walked right behind my mom through the long, bright hallways. We followed the crowd to the auditorium, where students handed out programs at the front entrance. We found seats in the 5th row, close to the middle, and as soon as we sat down, Mom started looking inside her pocketbook. I can't believe I forgot my glasses, she said. Dad shook his head. Mom was always forgetting her glasses, or her keys, or something or other. She is flaky that way. You want to move closer? Said Dad. Mom squinted at the stage. No, I can see okay. Speak now or forever hold your peace, said Dad. I'm fine, answered Mom. Look, there's Justin, I said to Dad, pointing out Justin's picture in the program. That's a nice picture of him, he answered, nodding. How come there's no picture of Via? I said. She's an understudy, said Mom. But look, here's her name. Why did they call her an understudy? I asked. Wow, look at Miranda's picture, said Mom to Dad. I don't think I would have recognized her. Why do they call it understudy? I repeated. It's what they call someone who replaces an actor if he can't perform for some reason, answered Mom. Did you hear Martin's getting remarried? Dad said to Mom. Are you kidding? Mom answered like she was surprised. Who's Martin? I asked. Miranda's father, Mom answered, and then to Dad. Who told you? I ran into Miranda's mother in the subway. She's not happy about it. He has a new baby on the way and everything. Wow, said Mom, shaking her head. What are you guys talking about? I said. Nothing, answered Dad. But why do they call it an understudy? I said. I don't know, Augie Doggy, Dad answered. Maybe because the actors kind of study under the main actors or something? I really don't know. I was going to say something else, but then the lights went down. The audience got very quiet very quickly. Dad, can you please not call me Augie Doggy anymore? I whispered in Dad's ear. Dad smiled and nodded and gave me a thumbs up. The play started, the curtain opened, and the stage was completely empty except for Justin, who was sitting in an old rickety chair turning his fiddle. He was wearing an old-fashioned type of suit and a straw hat. This play is called Our Town, he said to the audience. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced and directed by Philip Davenport. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line, latitude 42 degrees, 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. I knew right then and there that I was going to like the play. It wasn't like other school plays that I've been to, like The Wizard of Oz or Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. No, this was a grown-up seeming play, and I felt smart sitting there watching it. A little later in the play, a character named Mrs. Webb calls out for her daughter, Emily, and I knew from the program that that was the part Miranda was playing, so I leaned forward to get a better look at her. "That's Miranda," Mom whispered to me, squinting at the stage when Emily walked out. "She looks so different." "It's not Miranda," I whispered, "it's Via." "Oh my gosh," said Mom, lurching forward in her seat. "Shh," said Dad. "It's Via," Mom whispered to him. "I know," whispered Dad, smiling. "Shh." The ending. The play was so amazing. I don't want to give away the ending, but it's the kind of ending that makes people in the audience teary. Mom totally lost it when Via, as Emily, said, "Goodbye, goodbye world, goodbye Grover's Corners, Mama and Papa. Goodbye to the clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers, and food and coffee, and new iron dresses and hot baths, and sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anybody to realize you." Via was actually crying while she was saying this, like real tears. I could see them rolling down her cheeks. It was totally awesome. After the curtain closed, everyone in the audience started clapping. Then the actors came out one by one. Via and Justin were the last ones. And when they appeared, the whole audience rose to their feet. "Bravo!" I heard Dad yelling through his hands. "Why is everyone getting up?" I said. "It's a standing ovation," said Mom, getting up. So I got up and clapped and clapped. I clapped until my hands hurt. For a second, I imagined how cool it would be to be Via and Justin right then, having all these people standing up and cheering for them. I think there should be a rule that everyone in the world should get a standing ovation at least once in their lives. Finally, after I don't know how many minutes, the line of actors on stage stepped back and the curtain closed in front of them. The clapping stopped and the lights went up and the audience started getting up to leave. Me, Mom, and Dad made our way back to the backstage. Crowds of people were congratulating the performers, surrounding them, patting them on the back. We saw Via and Justin at the center of the crowd, smiling at everyone, laughing and talking. "Via!" shouted Dad, waving as he made his way through the crowd. When he got close enough, he hugged her and lifted her off the floor a little. "You were amazing, sweetheart." "Oh my gosh, Via," Mom was screaming with excitement. "Oh my gosh." She was hugging Via so hard that I thought Via would suffocate. But Via was laughing. "You were brilliant," said Dad. "Brilliant," Mom said, kind of nodding and shaking her head at the same time. "And you, Justin," said Dad, shaking Justin's hand and giving him a hug at the same time. "You were fantastic." "Fantastic," Mom repeated. She was honestly so emotional that she could barely talk. "What a shock to see you up there, Via," said Dad. "Mom didn't even recognize you at first," I said. "I didn't recognize you," said Mom, her hand over her mouth. "Miranda got sick right before the show started," said Via, all out of breath. "There wasn't even time to make an announcement. I have to say, she looked kind of strange, because she was wearing all of this makeup, and I've never seen her like this before." "And you just stepped in there right at the last minute?" said Dad. "Wow." "She was amazing, wasn't she?" said Justin, his arm around Via. "There wasn't a dry eye in the house," said Dad. "Is Miranda okay?" I said, but no one heard me. At that moment, a man, who I think was their teacher, came over to Justin and Via, clapping his hands. "Bravo, bravo, Olivia and Justin." He kissed Via on both cheeks. "I flubbed a couple of lines," said Via, shaking her head. "But you got through it," said the man, smiling ear to ear. "Mr. Davenport, these are my parents," said Via. "You must be so proud of your girl," he said, shaking their hands with both of his hands. "We are. And this is my little brother August," said Via. He looked like he was about to say something, but suddenly froze when he looked at me. "Mr. D," said Justin, pulling him by the arm. "Come meet my mom." Via was about to say something to me, but then someone else came over and started talking to her. And before I knew it, I was kind of alone in the crowd. I mean, I knew where Mom and Dad were, but there were so many people all around us. And people kept bumping into me, spinning me around a bit, giving me that 1-2 look, which made me feel kind of bad. I don't know if it was because I was feeling hot or something, but I kind of started getting dizzy. People's faces were blurring in my head, and their voices were so loud it was almost hurting my ears. I tried to turn the volume down in my Lobot ears, but I got confused and turned them louder at first, which kind of shocked me. and then I looked up and I didn't see Mom or Dad or Via anywhere. "Via!" I yelled out. I started pushing through the crowd to find Mom. "Mom!" I really couldn't see anything but people's stomachs and ties all around me. "Mom!" Suddenly, someone picked me up from behind. "Look who's here," said a familiar voice, hugging me tight. I thought it was Via at first, but then I turned around. I was completely surprised. "Hey, Major Tom," she said. "Miranda," I answered, and I gave her the tightest hug I could give her. Part 7. So this is told from Miranda's perspective. We haven't heard from her point of view yet. Camp lies. My parents got divorced the summer before 9th grade. My father was with someone else right away. In fact, though my mother never said so, I think this was the reason that they got separated. After the separation, I hardly ever saw my father, and my mother acted stranger than ever. It's not that she was unstable or anything, she just was distant, remote. My mother is the kind of person who has a happy face for the rest of the world, but not a lot left over for me. She's never talked to me much, not about her feelings, her life. I don't know much about what she was like when she was my age. I don't know much about the other things that she liked or didn't like. The few times that she mentioned her own parents who I've never met, it was mostly about how she wanted to get as far away from them as she could. She never told me why. I asked a few times, but she would pretend that she hadn't heard me. I didn't want to go to camp that summer. I had wanted to stay with her, to help her through the divorce. But she insisted I go away. I figured that she wanted the alone time, so I gave it to her. Camp was awful. I didn't like it. I thought it would be better being a junior counselor, but it wasn't. No one I knew from the previous year had come back. So I didn't know anyone, not a single person. I'm not even sure why, but I started playing this little make-believe game with the girls in the camp. They would ask me stuff about myself, and I would make things up. "My parents are in Europe," I told them. "I live in a huge townhouse on the nicest street in North River Heights. I have a dog named Daisy." Then one day I blurted out that I had a little brother who was deformed. I have absolutely no idea why I said this. It just seemed like an interesting thing to say. And of course, the reaction I got from the little girls in the bungalow was dramatic. "Really? So sorry, that must be so tough," etc., etc. I regretted saying this the moment it escaped from my lips. Of course, I felt like such a fake. If Via ever found out, I thought, she'd think I was a weirdo. And I felt like a weirdo, but I have to admit, there's a part of me that felt a little entitled to this lie. I've known Augie since I was 6 years old. I've watched him grow up. I've played with him. I've watched all 6 episodes of Star Wars for his sake, so I could talk to him about the aliens and the bounty hunters and all that. I'm the one that gave him the astronaut helmet he wouldn't take off for 2 years. I mean, I've kind of earned the right to think of him as my brother. And the strangest thing is that these lies I told, these fictions, did wonders for my popularity. The other junior counselors heard it from the campers, and they were all over it. Never in my life have I ever been considered as one of the popular girls in anything. But that summer in camp, for whatever reason, I was the girl that everyone wanted to hang out with. Even the girls in Bungalow 32 were totally into me. These were the girls at the top of the food chain. They said they liked my hair, though they changed it. They said that they liked the way I did my makeup, though they changed that too. They showed me how to turn my t-shirts into halter tops. We snuck out late at nights and took paths through the woods. And when I got home from camp, I called Ella right away to make plans with her. I don't know why I didn't call Via. I guess I just didn't feel like talking about stuff with her. She would have asked me about my parents, about camp, and Ella never really asked me about things. She was an easier friend to have in that way. She wasn't serious like Via. She was fun. She thought it was cool when I dyed my hair pink. She wanted to hear all about those trips through the woods late at night. School. I hardly saw Via at school this year, and when I did, it was awkward. It felt like she was judging me. And I knew that she didn't like my new look. I knew that she didn't like my group of friends. I didn't much like hers. We never actually argued, we just drifted away. Ella and I badmouthed her to each other. "She's such a prude, she's so this, she's so that." We knew we were being mean, but it was easier to ice her out if we pretended that she had done something to us. The truth is that she hadn't changed at all. We had. We'd become these people, and she was still the person that she'd always been. And that annoyed me so much, and I don't know why. Once in a while, I'd look to see where she was sitting in the lunchroom, or check the elective list to see what she signed up for. But except for a few nods in the hallway and an occasional hello, we never really spoke to each other. I noticed Justin about halfway through the school year. I hadn't noticed him at all before then, other than that when he was this skinny, cutish dude with thick glasses and longish hair who carried a violin everywhere. Then one day I saw him in front of the school with his arm around Via. "So Via has a boyfriend?" I said to Ella, kind of mocking. I don't know why it surprised me that she'd have a boyfriend. I mean, out of the three of us, she was totally the prettiest. Blue eyes and long, wavy dark hair. But she just never acted like she was interested in boys at all. She acted like she was too smart for that kind of stuff. I had a boyfriend too, a guy named Zach. When I told him I was choosing the theater elective, he shook his head and said, "Careful you don't turn into a drama geek." He's not the most sympathetic dude in the world, but, oh well. Very high up on the totem pole, a varsity jock. I wasn't planning on taking theater at first, and then I saw Via's name on the sign-up sheet and just wrote my name down on the list. I don't even know why. We managed to avoid one another throughout most of the semester. Like we didn't even know each other. And then one day I got to theater class a little early, and Davenport asked me to run off the additional copies of the play that he was planning on having us do for the spring production. The Elephant Man. I'd heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about, so I started skimming through the pages while I was waiting for the machine. It was about a man who lived more than 100 years ago named John Merrick, who was terribly deformed. "We can't do this play, Mr. D," I told him when I got back to class, and I told him why. My little brother has a birth defect, and he has a deformed face, and this play would hit too close to home. He seemed annoyed and a little unsympathetic, but I kind of said that my parents would have a real issue with the school doing this play. So anyways, he ended up switching to Our Town. I think I went for the role of Emily Gibbs because I knew that Via was going to go for it too. It never occurred to me that I'd beat her for the role. What I miss most. One of the things that I miss the most about Via's friendship is her family. I loved her mom and dad. They were always so welcoming and nice to me. I knew that they loved their kids more than anything, and I always felt safe around them. Safer than anywhere else in the world. How pathetic that I felt safer in someone else's house than in my own, right? And of course I loved Augie. I was never afraid of him, even when I was little. I had friends that couldn't believe that I would ever go over to Via's house. "His face creeps me out," they would say. "You're silly," I told them. "Augie's face isn't so bad once you get used to it." I called Via's house once just to say hello to Augie. Maybe a part of me was hoping Via would answer. I don't know. "Hey, Major Tom," I said, using my nickname for him. "Miranda!" He sounded so happy to hear my voice, it actually kind of took me by surprise. "I'm going to a regular school now," he told me excitedly. "Really? Wow," I said, totally shocked. I guess I never thought he'd go to a regular school. His parents have always been so protective of him. I guess I thought he'd always be that little kid in the astronaut helmet that I gave him. Talking to him, I could tell he had no idea that Via and I weren't close anymore. "It's different in high school," I explained to him. "You end up hanging out with loads of different people. I have some friends in my new school," he told me. "A kid named Jack and a girl named Summer." "That's awesome, Augie," I said. "Well, I was just calling to tell you that I miss you, and I hope you're having a good year. Feel free to call me whenever you want, okay, Augie? You know that I love you always. I love you too, Miranda. Say hi to Via for me. Tell her I miss her." "I will. Bye." "Bye."